A succubus is a term used to describe a female demon who appears to men in their dreams, seeking intimate encounters. This intriguing phenomenon is seldom explored in psychological literature, and it is primarily recognized as a cultural belief found in various religious traditions. A succubus, also referred to as succubi in the plural, is a supernatural entity from folklore, typically taking on a female guise. These entities manifest in the dreams of men with the intent of seduction, primarily through engaging in sexual encounters. According to various religious traditions, succubi require semen to sustain themselves. Repeated sexual encounters with a succubus establish a unique bond between the entity and the man. And during these interactions, the succubus does not drain or harm the man. In contemporary depictions, succubi are often portrayed as alluring seductresses or enchantresses, rather than being portrayed as demonic or terrifying figures. The term succubus was initially coined in the late 14th century to describe a supernatural entity, originating from the Latin word succuba, which means to lie beneath. According to folklore, the succubus is said to have descended from the ancient figure of Lilith, who was Adam's first wife. After leaving Adam, Lilith refused to return to the Garden of Eden and mated with the archangel Samael, who, in turn, mated with 4 succubi. Across various cultures, from Mesopotamia to Hebraic traditions, Lilith was often associated with malevolent forces, linked to the devil, and accused of causing afflictions among men, as well as wandering at night to tempt and corrupt them. Furthermore, in line with this folklore, succubi are believed to take on the guise of alluring young women, sometimes possessing physical deformities like bird-like claws or serpentine tails. One of the few mentions of Lilith in the Bible is in Isaiah 34 verse 14, where she is referred to as a screech owl, symbolizing a creature of the night or aptly termed the night monster in some translations. In terms of sexual encounters, folklore depicts succubi coercing men into performing cunnilingus. According to religious beliefs, engaging in repeated sexual activity with a succubus can lead to a decline in both physical and mental health, or even death. Various cultures worldwide feature sex demons in their mythology, akin to the succubus. Arabic culture mentions jinns, believed to be responsible for similar sexual encounters. African traditions describe men awakening exhausted after dreams of such entities, often taking the form of seductive women. Teutonic folklore introduces the Alp, while Zanzibar tells of Papaboa, a secretive assailant. In Hungary, a liturk can be a satanic lover or a fiery light, and Swedish folklore speaks of the Mara or Mare, a night goblin that causes bad dreams. Turkish culture recognizes the Karabasan as its succubus equivalent. In all these traditions, there's a common belief that repeated sexual liaisons with such entities can lead to health deterioration or even death. In India, the succubus is referred to as a yakshini, attendants of the Hindu god of wealth, Kubera, and guardians of hidden treasures within the earth. They are depicted as beautiful, voluptuous females with distinctive features, capable of providing sensual pleasure through their extraordinary beauty and the ability to delight the senses. Texts of tantras describe 36 different types of yakshinis, each capable of fulfilling various human desires. These beings are believed to remain eternally young, beautiful, powerful, and effective. When pleased, they can grant materialistic desires. Practicing yakshini sadhana involves following specific tantric rituals. Numerous experts in the fields of anthropology and psychology tend to attribute the concept of succubus to supernatural explanations for sleep paralysis, as well as hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations. Despite the existence of a limited number of case reports detailing succubus syndrome in individuals with psychotic disorders, it's noteworthy that succubus encounters are conspicuously absent in the realm of psychiatric literature. In this video, we shall explore 3 cases of individuals diagnosed with schizophrenia who experienced phenomena reminiscent of succubus encounters. In December 2012, in the city of Bakersfield, California, a young man named Ethan experienced a harrowing encounter of a demonic nature. After a long day at school, Ethan returned home exhausted, burdened by a mountain of homework. Despite his weariness, he toiled into the late hours of the night before eventually surrendering to sleep. However, his slumber was far from peaceful. In his dreams, he found himself besieged by a malevolent presence within his own home, relentlessly attempting to breach the sanctity of his room. Suddenly, the entity succeeded in infiltrating his space, causing Ethan to abruptly awaken to a deafening, high-pitched ringing in his ears. Ethan could feel the sinister force, which had positioned itself on the wall just behind his head, maliciously holding his limbs in a vice-like grip. The entity inserted an eerie sensation into his ears, triggering a violent vibration within his left ear that subsequently extended to his right. Struggling desperately, Ethan fought to break free from the entity's sinister clutches. He hurled curses at the intruder and made frantic attempts to regain control over his arms and legs. However, the demon only responded with an unsettling, otherworldly laugh that defied description. With an ominous proclamation of "soon," the demon abruptly released its hold on Ethan. He swiftly sat upright, leaping out of bed to flood his room with light. To his bewilderment, the room appeared entirely normal. Yet, Ethan's dogs were behaving unusually, barking fervently, leaping at the door, and desperately attempting to reach their distressed owner. As he entered the bathroom, Ethan was taken aback by his own reflection in the mirror. His eyes were bloodshot, with the entirety of his eye whites now a deep, eerie shade of red. It was at this moment that Ethan came to a chilling realization: he had been visited by a succubus demon. Ethan continues to live in fear of the demon's potential return, although he has not experienced another encounter since that fateful night. Ethan's account is truly extraordinary due to its level of intricacy, and even more so because he managed to survive his encounter with the supernatural entity. The majority of individuals who cross paths with any otherworldly being, let alone a succubus, rarely live to share their experiences. An 18-year-old young man, hailing from a middle-class background with no family history of mental health issues, presented with a gradually developing condition that had persisted for 3 years. This condition was marked by beliefs of being persecuted, thinking that everyday occurrences held special meaning just for him, inflated feelings of importance, the notion that his thoughts and actions were controlled by external forces, and hearing voices that gave him orders and engaged in discussions within his mind. Additionally, he experienced a sense of his thoughts being broadcast to others, a lack of interest or motivation, neglect of his personal well-being, and significant difficulties in his daily life. In addition to these symptoms, he described disturbing experiences of unwanted sexual contact, which he believed were happening to him against his will. During his mental evaluation, the patient expressed considerable distress due to his mental health issues. He elaborated on the auditory hallucinations and the feeling that his thoughts were being broadcast. Furthermore, he shared that at night, as he lay in bed, he sensed the presence of an attractive woman touching him intimately, causing him to have physical reactions. He felt helpless in these situations and experienced guilt and distress about these unwanted encounters. He was entirely convinced that these experiences were real. Occasionally, he would wake up after such encounters in a state of distress and fear. He attributed these experiences to a witch, but couldn't identify a specific person. His cognitive functions were normal, but his self-awareness regarding his condition was limited. There were no indications of other sleep-related disorders like narcolepsy, insomnia, hypersomnia, night terrors, nightmares, sleep-related movement issues, or sleep paralysis. Additionally, there were no signs of DAT syndrome, panic attacks, post-traumatic stress disorder, cognitive deficits, or recent changes in medication. Based on the available information, the patient was diagnosed with schizophrenia. A battery of medical tests, including blood work, kidney and liver function tests, electrolyte levels, thyroid function tests, electroencephalogram, and brain magnetic resonance imaging, showed no abnormalities. Treatment with aripiprazole was initiated, gradually increasing to 15 mg per day, resulting in a complete resolution of all his symptoms, including the succubus phenomenon. He reported no further such experiences, though he remained uncertain about whether the previous encounters were real or part of his illness. A 24-year-old man, who had been using cannabis in a dependent pattern, presented with a gradual and continuous illness lasting for 2 years. His condition was marked by several symptoms, including delusions of reference, delusional perceptions, delusions of love, as well as auditory, voices commenting, commanding, and discussing, and tactile hallucinations. During the initial assessment, he appeared disheveled and emotionally blunt, although there were no signs of formal thought disorder. When asked about his psychological experiences, he attributed the voices he heard to one of his female teachers. He believed that these voices expressed affection for him, often taking the form of auditory hallucinations. Additionally, he associated tactile sensations, particularly vibrations felt throughout his body, with the same teacher. These sensations were most intense in his thighs and genital region. They typically occurred at night while he was awake or asleep and alone, leading to arousal. Simultaneously, he would hear the voice of his teacher claiming responsibility for these sensations. He described feeling his penis being touched, leading to erections and occasional ejaculation. He couldn't explain the specifics of how she was doing this, but he was convinced it was her. He also believed that his teacher had control over his body, compelling him to engage in sexual activities against his will. He claimed to derive no pleasure from these experiences and was unable to prevent them. Importantly, these experiences were not linked to active cannabis use or abstinence. As a consequence of these symptoms, he had to halt his education and became confined to his home. Based on the available information, a diagnosis of schizophrenia and cannabis-dependent syndrome was made. He underwent sequential treatments with olanzapine, risperidone, trifluoperazine, and a combination of olanzapine and flufenazine decanoate, all in appropriate doses and for sufficient durations. While there was some improvement in his auditory hallucinations with these medications, approximately 40% to 50%, his tactile hallucinations remained largely unchanged. Ultimately, he began responding to a medication called clozapine, administered at a dose of 200 mg per day. With this treatment, his insight improved, and he came to recognize that his previous symptoms were not real but part of his illness. In the realm of myth and legend, the enigmatic succubus demon continues to captivate our imagination. With her seductive allure and dark allure, the succubus remains a figure of intrigue, embodying the fine line between desire and danger. Her stories have been told in countless cultures, each with its own unique twist on this supernatural temptress. Whether she is seen as a symbol of human desires or a harbinger of peril, the succubus stands as a testament to the timeless fascination with the mysterious and the unknown. As we journey deeper into the realms of folklore and the supernatural, the legend of the succubus endures, reminding us that in the shadows, secrets and desires are never far from our thoughts. So friends, that's all in today's video. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will meet you in the next video. Till then, stay safe.